I'm glad to be with you tonight. Ken asked me to prepare a little talk for this event in honoring Mike, reminding me, though, that he had only 3 hours for the room. I'll try to be brief. As you get older, you can't remember as much, but you keep on talking anyway. I'm trying for a bit of high tech here, but I'm having a little trouble with the sound and the white balance and all that other sort of stuff. I think I do a little better with my regular photos. The video must be for the younger folks. My grandkids aren't old enough to help me yet, so I'll struggle away and we'll bear this together. I suspect it's cold in Nashua, perhaps snowy, and that is why I'm here in St. Pete rather than with you in Nashua. Here's a picture of my house before I left Nashua a few years ago. Here's my cottage at the lake during the winter. A lot of snow there too. Not looking forward to seeing that. Here's my home in St. Pete. And the water across the street. Enough said as to why I didn't make it to Nashua. It's too cold. These are Holden and Declan, my grandchildren. We grandparents reserve the right at any time to take out a bunch of pictures of the grandkids. If I were with you, perhaps someone would ask for more and I could pull out a few hundred from my phone, and there we would be. But I am in St. Pete, and we're here for Mike. Enough about me. This is about Mike. This is about Mike, and he would be the first to agree that I shouldn't let the facts interfere with a good tale. I've known Mike for a long time. That happens when you both get old. He's from Oklahoma, and because of that, he can explain about noodling, fishing for crappies, and probably cow tipping. But an Okie is a rare appellation in New Hampshire, but not without regard. He takes pride in being a redneck. He may even have a picture of Jeff Foxworthy in his house or wallet. If asked, he could probably repeat half a dozen of the attributes of being a redneck and would probably fit most. For example, if your idea of a 7-course meal is a bucket of KFC and a six-pack, you might be a redneck. If your only condiment on the dining room table is the economy-sized bottle of ketchup, you might be a redneck. You may be a redneck if you've spent more on your pickup truck than on your education. And the list goes on. I sent out some pictures of a rodeo in Florida. These are some good old Florida boys having a little fun with a gator. Mike knew who they were by name. I was impressed. Didn't know the gator, but he knew the people. Sometimes between patients, his door would be closed, and he would be reading all those cowboy novels. I told him, I like Lonesome Dove. He assured me it wasn't as good as anything by Louis L'Amour, who knew he was a literary critic. He left Nashville once and went back to work in Oklahoma in the prison system. Not so much emphasis on patient satisfaction there, and that was probably good. But if they really don't like you, they just kill you. I guess our patients seemed more likable after that, and he came back. There was a celebration for my 50th birthday, and I thought I was old then. Little did I know what 20 more years would do. But as a present, he gave me this book. Don't squat with your spurs on. Imagine the image, and you see why this Cowboy's Guide to Life would have some practical advice. I could hear Mike all through it. Notably, being a surgical type, the advice, never ask a barber if you think you need a haircut, seemed to fit as appropriate wisdom in the light of seeing a surgeon to know if you need an operation. Mike and I have shared the adventures of raising our children. He has been very proud of his, rightfully so, and before I became a grandfather, he told me how good it would be. He was right. Protective of his children, his daughter worked here and had some jewelry that was apparently not in line with the then current regulations for meeting patients. Perhaps Pat Fagins or Linda suggested they should not be worn in the work environment. He appealed to me. Now, I may have been the medical director, but I knew that I should just leave that to the women and didn't get involved. I long ago realized that I had a fancy title, but for a lot of things, others were in charge of me. Linda never let that concept slip by any of us. You in this room all know that. Mike is the consummate bargainer. I sold him a car that he thought he'd fix up. I forgot how little he paid me. In fact, after his tale of woe, I may have had to pay him to take it away. He filled in the rust, though, oh yeah, one gets rust in New England. And happily, he drove it for some 50,000 more miles and then complained that perhaps he had paid too much. But when I wanted a truck, he was the one I went to for guidance. Tundra, great truck. Wish I still had it. Joanne thought it a little impractical, and so she kept her sports car, and I got a four-door sedan. Mike came from the Air Force and has never forgotten those roots. He is proud to be a veteran and feels oneness with all of us who served. Way back when veterans were not so well regarded, but that's another tale. I think he may still go to Silos on Veterans Day to get a free meal. Well, he told me about it, and I went. It was a good deal. Mike has been here a long time, and we have worked together a lot. He is the last of the folks who were here when Matthew Thornton started. At that time, all of the employees could fit around the kitchen table and did just that. I suspect they never imagined what would become of the small startup adventure. Ultimately, a very large enterprise, an experiment in healthcare that I believe has worked. I did a painting that I think Mike still has. I wasn't allowed to keep it in my house. Joanne has a different view on my art talents, but I thought it could be in the office. Somehow, it wound up in the old Proctor room, so that patients having that bit of unpleasantness were kneeling, assuming the position, and staring at my work of art. I think he did that. Mike became a PA and was one of the first in Nashua. He can tell you the long uphill struggles we all went through to get him and the others hospital privileges, something that's so common today in almost all communities. Who knew we were being pioneers? We just thought we were having to deal with some backward-thinking folks. With hospital privileges, he came to the OR, and he and I worked on a lot of people together. With this many years between us, there are probably thousands of folks who are a little better off because of our team. He was a member of a team, and the team worked better because he was there. I'll let him tell you again about Jeff Chandler. I heard this story with each back we operated on. Now, don't go too deep, Wes. Remember, the enemy of good is better. More than assistant, he was often my go-to resource when a patient I was seeing for some ortho problem also had a rash or something that called for the basic armamentarium of medical knowledge that a PA knows, and I just didn't. Turnabout is fair play, and I would wait outside his door for a consult, another plus for the medical group. I trusted him with my own health, and remember one of the funniest things that happened to both of us. I'll waive the HIPAA privacy here, as it was my medical care. I had a sore shoulder that needed injecting. May have been the first injection that Mike did, but Barbara washed my shoulder, and he and she were both laughing away. I pointed to where the needle needed to go in. It went in. Ouch, I said, and he pulled the needle out before the medicine was in. Why'd you do that? You said it hurt. Of course it hurts. It's a needle, I said. Now you have to do it again. Back to another injection, which was hard for them to do as they were both laughing so hard. I did survive. One thing that has remained over the years, Mike can be counted on. We needed to start our urgent care operation. Without him and his fellow PAs, that would not have gotten off the ground. I and our organization owe him a debt of gratitude. At the time, we were in a point of friction with the hospital, and without his and his colleagues' efforts, our attempt to remain apart would have been harder, maybe impossible. Mike will be remembered by all of us who worked with him, by patients he cared for, and in the history of Dartmouth-Hitchcock, Matthew Thornton. He was a vital, integral part of who we were and what we have become. Thank you for all that you have done, Thank you for being a colleague and a friend. Enjoy a well-deserved retirement. I thank and miss all of you. It was my privilege to have worked with so dedicated a team. I wish I could be with you tonight, but get real. It's just too cold, and we're in Florida. In the spirit of the Cowboy's good life, thank you again. I hope you have a good time tonight, and I hope this has worked out well for everybody.